Well, it's around that time of year again where Rito and League of Legends release another one of their cinematics, this one for Season 12. And let's just say there's a lot to talk about with this one. The most noticeable part of this cinematic is definitely the graphics, because dear god do they look amazing. I'm pretty sure my PC can't even properly render them. With technology moving forward constantly, and with the next gen consoles out now, it's inevitable that League cinematics are going to become more and more pretty as time goes on. But the upgrade here is really substantial. Awaken and Warriors had really nice graphics too, but they're clearly not trying to go for realism. On the other hand, shots like these make the call look almost photorealistic. This isn't necessarily better or worse, just a different direction from the norm, which I personally really enjoy. Like, if you had told me this is an actual real human's hand, I probably would have believed you. And look at this eye, man, it's just so crisp. Considering this is a cinematic, some of these frames really are, well, cinematic. Like, how badass would this be as a wallpaper? Riot really delivered on the scope and the scale of these scenarios, and despite it being quite a somber video, there are loads of bright and popping colours to illuminate the muddiness of it. The updated graphics really allow the character designs of the champions we know and love to shine. It's quite an interesting cast of a lot of less popular champs like Talia, Rek'Sai and Sejuani, which is fresh to see but also kind of ironic considering how often they're memed for their abysmal play rates. But Riot has shown that they really do care about these champs because they've all had some sort of visual update done to them. There's a lot of controversy when it comes to the designs of League's champs, especially the faces, but they really went out of their way to diversify them. Talia has a really unique appearance as usual. Olaf looks larger and wider, more like an invincible warrior that he's meant to be. Kai'Sa had to appear in this cinematic because of course she did, but despite the flaws in her design, she actually looks somewhat interesting in the call. Her face is a lot more distinctive than in-game, with features more like you'd see in a Shuriman character. Even her shoulder jet things look more primal and living, like they're the bones of some void creature. I mean, she still has her tits out, but this is definitely a step in the right direction. The animation is really stellar too, showcasing Kai'Sa's voidling suit powers as she zips around, and the ferocity and power of Pantheon as he fights these Solari. However, in the end, these are just all visuals of the cinematic. What about the core? Well, it tells a really powerful story. A story of mere humans going up against unimaginable threats. Talia and Kai'Sa fighting otherworldly monsters. Sejuani and the Winter's Claw battling the godly forces of Volibear's Ursine followers. And with the punchy dramatic score supporting it. It makes each of these scenes feel even more impactful. But see, there's a reason why Pantheon was the poster child of the call. Because in the end, this is the core of his story. Pantheon was just a man, and fought to show that men don't need gods, including the aspects. He's the one who has to answer the call. He fights for the glory of men and the fall of gods. That's why this song hits so hard. Atreus fights the Solari mortal with a shield, and only resorts to his actual weapon when it comes to battling an aspect. He's a symbol, just a guy that could be any one of us, fighting against much greater odds than himself, to the point where even Aurelian's soul, the fucking cosmic dragon god of the universe, has to intervene with a grand starfall. And we see Atreus once again on the ground, further from his target, Mount Targon, than ever, laying among the beaten, broken warriors. But he won't give up. He won't surrender, and so he uses the cosmic powers of the Pantheon to rise up to the call. When you look into it, this is an entire story arc in of itself. It really symphonically blends the visuals and music together to create something that's both resonating story-wise, but also really just cinematically cool. I find it interesting how, in each cinematic, we visit different areas of Runeterra. In 2019 it was Noxus, Piltover and Ionia, then Demacia and so on, and now Shurima, Targon and the Freljord. Slowly but surely, the League universe is taking flesh, and it's really interesting to see just how much depth there is to a MOBA. The two other things I want to mention are sort of connected, and that's Ornn and Kai'Sa, or the Daughter of the Void, I should say. Ornn wasn't doing much in this cinematic, but that's kind of in character. He was just forging away, high above all the conflict, higher than all the mortals because he is, well, a god. But there have been theories that this might have something to do with a future event, a Void event. With the release of a new Void Jungler later this year, as well as a new Malzahar story and this interesting ending shot of Kai'Sa diving down deep into Rek'Sai's Void tunnels, this cinematic seems to be subtly pointing towards a Void-based event that might happen, similar to the Sentinels of Light, which I'd be all for. But that's just a theory. In the end, I must say that I am a fan of this cinematic. From a music aspect, I would say Warriors and Awaken were more memorable, but in terms of grandeur and scope, The Call definitely has them beat. This cinematic has a very breathtaking sort of appeal, and matched with the beautiful graphics, it creates a really powerful show with a strong message behind it. Not too shabby, Riot. Not too shabby at all.